What is up, guys? Rampanawan here, and welcome to the very first episode of This Week in the WWE. If you're not sure what this series is or what this series is about, I uploaded a video earlier on today. I'll put an annotation on the screen now and a link in the description, just giving you a brief overview of what this series is about and what you can expect to see from it. So before you watch this video, go over and watch that. It'll explain everything, and then come back to this and you'll understand what's going on. So hopefully now you've watched that video and we can get to the topics that I want to talk about today for this week in the WWE. So first off, this is coming off of Elimination Chamber, and most of the things I'm going to be talking about here are about the Elimination Chamber, but there are some things from Raw as well. So the first thing I want to talk about is Kane and Bryan. Now, obviously, they were destined to do something other than be a tag team right from the get-go. They had that anger management, didn't really get a long thing going for them for a while, and then it started to peak a little bit more come the Royal Rumble, and now it's even gone that step further, at the Elimination Chamber. So for those of you who missed the Elimination Chamber, just to give a brief overview of what happened with Kane and Bryan. Earlier on in the night before the Chamber match, Bryan agreed to have Kane's back in the Elimination Chamber. And then when the actual Elimination Chamber came down, they worked together for a little bit, and then when Kane had his back turned, Bryan tried to get in with a roll-up. This then led to them having a little bit of back and forth in the ring, where Kane would get the better of Bryan would get the better of Kane, and then eventually Mark Henry came in and eliminated both. So their main point in the Elimination Chamber, I think, was just to build a little bit of tension for a possible WrestleMania match down the road. Now, where will that leave the tag team titles? They'll probably have to defend them sometime between now and WrestleMania, and then during the match one of them will walk out or one of them will attack the other, and that will lead to them losing the titles. I don't see them going into WrestleMania still holding the titles. It wouldn't make much sense when they could give it to another tag team, but I just don't see them going into WrestleMania with the titles. But I think they're definitely going to be having a match at WrestleMania. I thought they would have lost the titles a little sooner from now, but I also like how they've done it with including the Elimination Chamber, giving them a little segment within the chamber, so that was nice. So going off of the tag team champions, I want to talk about another tag team, and that is Brodus Clay and it might be just Tensai now. I don't think he's still going by Lord Tensai. But that's Brodus Clay and Tensai. And could these guys be the future tag team champions? Let's take a look about what WWE does and how they crown their champions. Now, there are obviously tag teams within the WWE which a lot of people would much rather see the champions. Some that come to mind are the Usos. Primo and Epico were good tag team champions for a while. The other team, can't remember off the top of my head, but there are a couple of teams within the WWE which are probably much more deserving of the titles. But the way that the tag team champion titles work in the WWE and the way they just get thrown around, to just sort of build tag teams, I don't know, they kind of just threw them on Kofi Kingston and R-Truth out of the blue. It's the only tag team that comes to mind. But they kind of threw them on Kane and Bryan out of the blue as well. I mean, they go from having a triple threat match with CM Punk for the WWE title and then becoming tag team champions. It was definitely out of the blue. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised if they put the tag team champions on Brodus Clay and Tensai. I'll admit, out of the funnier tag teams and the more comedy-driven segments that the WWE do with the likes of Zack Ryder and Santino, Brodus, Clay and Tensai is actually one of the better ones, and I do quite enjoy it. I'm really not a big fan of what they do with, as far as comedy goes, with Zack Ryder and Santino and guys like that. But the stuff with Tensai and Clay, it's definitely much more enjoyable than half of the other stuff they do. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were to put the tag team titles on Tensai and Clay between now and WrestleMania, and then they could possibly defend them in the pre-show or something like that. Even if they make it to WrestleMania, I think WrestleMania is going to be a very high stacked card with lots of matches that could be the main event if there was another main event there, if you know what I mean by that. If the tag team title match even makes it to Mania, I think Brodus, Clay and Tensai will be the champions at that time. So the Elimination Chamber match, there was only one Elimination Chamber match this year, which I was really disappointed about. I'll get into the Team Cena, I'll call it Cena, Ryback and Sheamus versus the Shield match in a moment, and I can see why they didn't make that a chamber match in the end. But still, it's the Elimination Chamber. If you're going to make a themed pay-per-view, and that's why I was really disappointed with Hell in a Cell this year, if you're going to make a themed pay-per-view, you need to get at least 2 of the themed match into the pay-per-view. They did it for so long. Last year they had 2, the year before they had 2. Most years, they have 2 Elimination Chambers, just like a Hell in a Cell. They have 2 Hell in a Cell matches. This year's Hell in a Cell only had 1, and it was a very disappointing Hell in a Cell. And this year's Elimination Chamber only had 1 Elimination Chamber match. Fortunately, this wasn't a disappointing Elimination Chamber. It was actually a very good Elimination Chamber, one of the better ones in the past few years. And the winner of that Elimination Chamber, I'm not sure if I said it already, was Jack Swagger. Now, going into this match, it was Randy Orton, Jericho, Mark Henry, Kane, Daniel Bryan, and Jack Swagger. And Jack Swagger, along with Kane and Daniel Bryan, was one of the guys that I did not see winning this match at all. I thought it was going to go to Jericho. I could possibly see it going to Mark Henry and possibly going to Orton if Orton was to make some sort of heel turn, or if Big Show was going to win the title. I just paused the recording there for a second just to take a drink. But anyway, as I was saying, my main prediction for the Chamber match was Jericho to win it. I thought the Elimination Chamber match was going to open the show, if I'm honest. And I was expecting Jericho to win the match. And then in the Del Rio and Show match later on, I was expecting Ziggler to cash in, leading into Jericho versus Ziggler at WrestleMania, which is most likely going to happen anyway, but with the World Heavyweight Championship thrown into it, which would have been very good. But this match that they've got going on now, which is, I think it's 100% confirmed, Jack Swagger versus Alberto Del Rio, I'm really looking forward to that, as it wasn't a match that I had considered at all. The only matches I'd really considered was Orton versus Show, Jericho versus Dolph Ziggler, possibly Mark Henry versus Del Rio, but Jack Swagger versus Del Rio was one I did not consider at all. And now that it's in front of me and it looks like it's going to happen, I am actually looking forward to it. But overall, the Elimination Chamber was a very good match. Mark Henry was very dominant in the match. After he was eliminated by getting hit by a drop kick from Jack Swagger, a codebreaker from Chris Jericho, and an RKO from Randy Orton, he then jumped back into the match to World's Strongest Slam all 3 of them, and he had to be taken out by Booker T and some of the officials. So Mark Henry was very dominant in this match, and I look forward to seeing what he does at Mania, because whatever he's doing or whoever he faces, it should be good. He's going back into it with the big, angry Hall of Pain gimmicks. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed it when he was facing the Big Show. He had that feud with him there. When he had the feud with Daniel Bryan. I really enjoyed it, so I look forward to seeing it again at this year's WrestleMania. Continuing on the talk of Jack Swagger, just for a moment here, Zeb Colter. Zeb Colter is probably the best thing to happen to Jack Swagger. Jack Swagger isn't the best on the mic, and he's one of the guys who does need a mouthpiece. He's one of the guys that does work better with a manager. Now, they tried to do it with him and Dolph Ziggler and Vicky Guerrero. Now, Vicky Guerrero, she can only do it with certain people. She did it very well with Edge. I think when she got to do it with Dolph Ziggler, it kind of lost its touch. And then when they included Jack Swagger in that's when she couldn't do it anymore. She wasn't right for these types of people. But Zeb Colter is perfect for Jack Swagger. They work really well together. The whole real American gimmick sort of thing is very good. And I think, like I said, Zeb Colter is a brilliant manager for Jack Swagger. And it's the best thing that's ever happened to him, because do you guys remember that Jack Swagger once had a World Heavyweight Championship run? Because most people don't. I think now that Zeb Colter's involved in this, it's really gonna put a dent on what Jack Swagger's gonna do, and it's gonna mean a lot more this time. So one of the filler matches, well, I think it was the only filler match tonight, was Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston. Now, I don't really want to talk about that match itself. I want to talk about what happened after the match, and that was Big E, that big, strong black guy that hangs around with Dolph Ziggler. After the match, he then went on to beat down on Kofi Kingston. And it wasn't a simple jump in the ring, hit your finisher, get out. It was actually quite a beatdown. He was tossing him around the ring, clotheslines, knees to the gut and stuff like that. So it was a beatdown. And it brings up the question, is Big E coming to the main roster to do something other than just hang around with Dolph Ziggler and be Dolph Ziggler's manager? He attacked Kofi Kingston, so it does bring up the question, is he going to be working with Kofi Kingston in a possible match? Maybe not at WrestleMania. I don't see that being at Mania, but on a Raw or main event or whatever. Or is Big E going to continue on this wrecking path and attack more superstars within the WWE? Some baby faces, maybe the likes of Zack Ryder, Santino, guys like that. I think I would rather him go along that path than just do something with Kofi Kingston. And then further on down the line, maybe come Extreme Rules. I think that's the pay-per-view after WrestleMania. He could have a possible match with a bigger name guy who comes out to be the hero who's protecting all these smaller jobbers. Can't think of anybody who really comes to mind who could fit that role yet, but it's possible, and I think I'd like to see Big E on the mic. I don't think is good at all, so he's obviously going to be hanging around with Dolph Ziggler, and AJ has that mouthpiece working for him. But seeing him on that little beatdown on Kofi Kingston and some of his matches on NXT, he's not a bad superstar when it comes to in-ring capabilities. So I wouldn't mind to see what he's got, what he can do when he's actually on the main stage in the WWE and not on the developmental program NXT, or it's NXT now, I believe. So yeah, I'd look forward to seeing him do something more within the WWE. So at the Elimination Chamber, one of the matches for this year's Elimination Chamber was The Miz versus Antonio Cesaro for the United States Championship. And now how this match ended was very, very unique and very different. So The Miz was standing over Cesaro, and he was holding his legs up, and he was kicking him in the gut and kicking his knees, working on the left knee, I believe. And then Antonio Cesaro kicked his legs up, Miz went up in the air, and when he came back down, his knee dropped onto Antonio's... what do they call it in the wrestling business? Where he landed on his nuts. He gave him... it wasn't a deliberate low blow. I don't even think that... the knee didn't land on the nuts, and I don't think... when they played it off, I don't think it was meant to. I think it was just Cesaro pretending. But the match ended. The Miz was disqualified, and Antonio retained the title. And then after the match, the Miz... I tweeted, I said, if you're going to get disqualified for doing a low blow, you might as well do it right. And then he kicked Antonio Cesaro right in the nuts, and Cesaro rolled out the ring. So this is obviously going to lead up to another United States Championship match. And I think that this next United States Championship match is going to be at WrestleMania. And this is the one where The Miz is going to win. He's going to come out on top over Antonio Cesaro. And he's going to be the new United States Champion. From there, I'd like to see Cesaro versus The Miz at Extreme Rules in an Extreme Rules match. And have The Miz retain again. And then have Cesaro go on to something a little bit bigger and a little bit better. Maybe a small feud with somebody without a title. I don't know about you guys, but I always prefer feuds and prefer rivalries without titles. If you're able to pull one off with the right, when you have the two right guys, it's much better than having a title thrown in. Obviously, throwing a title in, like for example, Ziggler versus Jericho, it's going to be a good match at WrestleMania, but if you throw the World Heavyweight Championship onto that match, it's going to mean a lot more. But things like The Undertaker's matches, they're titleless, and they're not terrible matches, they're brilliant matches. So, I'd like to see Antonio Cesaro do something with somebody without a title. It would mean a lot to me personally, you know. And I just think it'd work for him as well. I think he's an excellent wrestler. He's an excellent in-ring performer. He's really good on the mic as well. For somebody who's foreign from Europe, that's very good, because there aren't many European guys with that sort of accent who are very good on the mic. And Antonio Cesaro is definitely one of them. So yeah, so I see The Miz winning the title at WrestleMania. But we'll probably hear more about that when on the coming weeks on Raw and SmackDown and stuff like that. And the final thing I wanted to cover was The Rock versus CM Punk. Now, The Rock did retain the title against CM Punk after beating him for it at the Royal Rumble. This was CM Punk's rematch clause to say. And even if it wasn't his rematch clause, even if they weren't, because they don't do the rematch clause a lot nowadays, but they needed to have that match. There wasn't any other match that The Rock was going to have at Elimination Chamber, so it needed to be against Punk again. So, like I said, The Rock retained the title. Now, the way this match finished was, it opened up a lot of doors for what Punk could be doing come WrestleMania, because Punk was screwed out of this match. Well, he was, the way it ended, he was screwed. He had he pushed The Rock hit the ref, he hit Rock with a GTS, and he lay him out for like, he was on top of him for like 10 seconds, like a 10 count. I think he was even longer than that. And then, I believe another ref came out, and another ref got knocked down. And then the original ref then came back in and pinned Punk's shoulders to the mat, and then The Rock walked out the retaining WWE champion. Now, like I said, this opened up a lot of doors for CM Punk, because depending on if The Undertaker is going to face Punk at WrestleMania, if he's not, then like there's a gateway for CM Punk to do something else, as he was screwed out of the match. Whether that is including himself in the Rock and Cena match, which I don't see happening. Or it could be some conspiracy against somebody of the company, somebody representing Vince McMahon. Maybe he could do something with Vince McMahon. I've got nothing against those sorts of things. When Vince McMahon gets in the ring, it's always entertaining. The storyline behind it is always entertaining. Although I don't see that being their main option, doing something with Vince McMahon and CM Punk. It could be an option, and I wouldn't be 100% against seeing it if that's what it came down to, and Undertaker isn't willing to face CM Punk at WrestleMania. But I do hope, that Undertaker is coming back and he does face CM Punk at WrestleMania. Not so much for the Undertaker's sake, more for CM Punk's sake, because if Undertaker doesn't come back, CM Punk's going to go from this 434-day title reign to not much. He needs to go from that 434-day title reign to a match at WrestleMania with The Undertaker. Just, even if he loses, which he probably will, it just adds to his career that he went into the ring against The Undertaker at WrestleMania, because a lot of guys who have faced Undertaker at WrestleMania, it's sort of one of their accomplishments. They were like, this many titles, this many championships, main evented this many WrestleManias. I always faced The Undertaker at WrestleMania. It's one of those things you just add to your record, and I don't see it being a very bad match either. The matches that CM Punk and Undertaker had previously were very one-sided towards The Undertaker, but that was because of their characters at the time, when CM Punk was a very shady, very weak-looking heel, while The Undertaker was The Undertaker. So that's the only reason that Undertaker came off very, very, very strong against CM Punk back then. But I do hope to see Undertaker versus Punk. It should be a good match, and even when The Undertaker wins, I'll still be happy that Punk faced The Undertaker at WrestleMania. And that sums it up for the first episode of this week in the WWE, covering the week of February 11th to the February 18th. Both title matches are now confirmed for WrestleMania as it stands. Jack Swagger versus Alberto Del Rio for the World Heavyweight Championship, and The Rock versus John Cena for the WWE Championship. If you have any of your own thoughts on any of the topics I discussed today, Kane, Daniel Bryan, Brodus, Tensai, Swagger winning the Elimination Chamber, Big E Langston, The Miz future US Champion, and where does this leave CM Punk? Leave your comments in the comment section down below, giving me your thoughts on any of the topics you'd like to talk about. Also, if you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like rating and subscribe for more videos. Again, guys, you're around Padawan, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.